I'm doing a Q&A for the 12-week year. I'm currently on a 12-week year journey. I started this on October 6th and I'm ending it December 29, I believe. It's 12 weeks of me focusing on 3 goals. The 3 goals were to lose 5 pounds, to apply to become licensed in Florida. I'm a therapist. I want to become licensed in the state of Florida, currently licensed in Texas. And then my third one was to revamp my website. I asked you all to give me a couple of questions, one from my experience, my journey, and then also questions that you may have about the 12-week year. I do have my phone here because I do have a lot of questions and I want to make sure that I answer them to the best of my ability. I did write some notes. The first one was, how did I come up with my goals? And for me, I usually try to do the 12-week year either at the beginning of the year or at the end of the year. Why? Because I just feel like that's when we either tend to have a lot of steam to pursue our goals or very little steam. For me, December, November, those months, I tend to not lock in. I tend to not focus on my habits, and then everything goes out the window, and then I'm rushing in January to kind of revamp my whole life. And I don't like that. So I decided to start earlier and try to do my best to really focus on a few goals by the end of the year. And I went back to look at all the goals that I had set for 2026 and which ones were still pending, which ones did I just want to let go, and then which ones I just really wanted to focus on for the next 3 months. And so I narrowed down the 3 most important ones. I feel like I have focused a lot on life and community and having new friendships and things like that, which made me very social this year, but not as committed to my health and wellness and fitness. Like, I feel like I was just maintaining, which is fine, right? If you're in a maintenance stage where you're just maintaining, you're just living your life, that's totally fine. But I did want to kind of give myself a little boost of motivation when it came to my weight loss journey, since I had reached a little bit of a plateau. And then as far as getting licensed, I just wanted to expand. I've been a therapist for 6 years now in Texas, and I wanted to expand to Florida. And reason why Florida is because they have a majority of Spanish-speaking people who are bilingual, and that's really why. That's the community I want to serve, and so that's why I picked Florida. And I also have had inquiries of people who were in Florida, and I couldn't see them because I'm not licensed there. So that was another reason. And the website revamp was because I really just didn't feel aligned anymore with my current website, and that is why I decided to just update it. And I did give a update during the vlogs that I'm basically starting from scratch and doing a whole new website. So I'm doing really well. I feel a lot more aligned with this new website, but it is a lot of work, and I'm excited to launch it. I'm not sure if it's going to be finished by January, but I at least am doing a lot of the copy for that website. So that is how I picked my goals. I also feel like I just didn't want to overwhelm myself. And in the 12-week year book, it does tell you to only pick 1 to 3 goals, because we can very quickly just overwhelm ourselves too much with too many goals. Another question is, what is the best way to balance the 12-week year? I think this comes to what I said before of not having too many goals. The thing about the 12-week year, and if you're not familiar with it, the 12-week year is you pick a few goals that you focus on for a 12-week year period. You have tactics that are tied to each goal that you do daily, weekly, to make sure that you're making progress. And every week you have a weekly accountability meeting and you get to reflect on how the week went. You also get to score yourself to see how many tactics did you actually get done. I think that part is how the balance happens, is that every week you're getting data from your 12-week year on how you're doing, and if you're doing too much. If you're finding your score is very low most days, then it might just mean that might be a little bit more preparation, especially when it comes to like weight loss. There might be a little bit more preparation in terms of cooking, preparing food, especially if you have a commute, a 8 to 5. And then you have kids. Like, there's just so many things to be mindful of when we're picking goals, because if we're picking a goal that is we're never hitting the tactics, we're not going to have a good balance, an intentional balance, because it's constantly going against real life. It's constantly going against your lifestyle, right? There's a point where you get to push yourself and challenge yourself, but you don't want to push yourself too much when you're still kind of beginning in the stages, especially when it comes to weight loss. Like also with like a launch, like if you have a big launch happening, like a website launch or something like that, again, you don't want to say website launch unless again you're going to be very, very strict on how that works for you and you have space in your schedule and that's part of your work schedule. Like for me, my website stuff is part of my work. Getting licensed is part of my work. Filming for YouTube is part of my work. So it makes it easy to balance. So I want you to think about your 12-week year as something that is part of your life that you can incorporate. It's not like an add-on, right? So for me, like I know I'm gonna eat. I know I'm gonna have to cook. And so that's already part of my life. I just have to be more mindful of what I cook, the portions that I cook. And those are things that don't take as much energy for me now, but it would take a lot of energy before. So again, if you're starting off first, ask yourself like, have I done tracking before? Have I stuck to focusing, having focus periods where I do a specific task? Like that's the balance where you have to know yourself and how you manage things. And if you're someone who struggles with managing time, then you want to be giving yourself some grace since this 12-week year. And maybe one of the goals is being better at time management. Maybe one of the goals is to implement a time management strategy. Maybe one of the goals is to learn more about nutrition. Maybe, again, it has to be a balance. It has to make sense. And the way to balance it is preparation, plan, and making sure that that goal is right for the right time. The next question is more of like planning and organization, and that is what planner are you using for the 12-week year? I use the Hustle Sanely planner, and it is it's a full planner. It's like a full year planner, but I used to use their quarterly planner, and I think that can also be good to use for the 12-week year. I love it. It blends productivity, mental health, and wellness, and I just don't do a to-do list. It also lets me focus on my focus three things that I know I need to get done that day or I need to get done that week, and it really takes me away from doing things that are not helpful, because I used to be someone who would do like the easiest task first just to have a win, but then I would feel like I did so many things, but none of them moved the needle. None of them actually worked towards my goals. They were just like side things that, yeah, it was helpful to get them done, but ultimately it wasn't the priority, right? So that's what I use for a planner. And then how do you organize your 12-week year in ClickUp? I have built a 12-week year template. I have a whole video where I walk you through the dashboard, the ClickUp template, and I broke down my weekly actions there. I never sit down and wonder what to do. I had mapped it out before I put it on ClickUp, and so I think that's good to just like map it up on paper or on a Word document and then add it as tasks on ClickUp. So it's like week 1 and then I have all my tasks, like week 2 and then I have all my tasks. And then there's like a little label if it's for goal 1, weight loss, goal 2, license. And the dashboard is really helpful too. I didn't use a dashboard this time around, but I did use it in previous 12-week years. So I think that was really helpful. This is another category, which is holidays in real life. They asked me, and just like holidays, routines, real life, how do I plan to stay consistent during Thanksgiving and Christmas? I don't pause my goals, I just adapt to them. So I'm going to plan walks, which are super accessible. I may bring my yoga mat, so I have a place to do like a mat Pilates workout using my phone. I already talked to my sister about scheduling a workout class together. So not only do I get to still spend time with family, but I still get to be consistent on my goals. As far as like food wise, I'm still going to enjoy the holiday meals, but I'm going to be mindful of the rest of my meals, right? So maybe if I'm having a high calorie meal, I'm having a lower calorie meal for lunch or for breakfast. I'm not skipping meals. I'm just trying to work through it. And if I go over, it's okay. It's a day. It's not my whole life. And I think that's okay. I think that's okay. The whole point of me doing this is to not only be able to participate in the holidays, but also be able to stick to my goals. I didn't want to let go of my goals, and that was the problem. I didn't want to let go of my habits. I wanted to still be consistent without being perfect. So that's how I plan it. Like I said, tell the people around you, like my family knows that I am in a weight loss journey, and it doesn't stop them from saying like, you deserve this, or you should go get this. And it's like, yeah, I do deserve it. And yeah, I could go get this, but I don't want to. And I have a plan, right? So again, that's the tough part about like handling the holidays when you have maybe a fitness routine, is that if they're not in the same mindset as you at that point, they might give you can do that, you don't have to eat perfectly or things like that, or you should eat more and things like that. Like again, I think it all comes out of kindness and just thoughtfulness from your family, but it can also, you have to set the limit of like, no, that's okay, thank you, like I have a specific goal and I just can't. And maybe that makes them feel a certain way, but that's okay. You cannot manage other people's emotions. I've learned that along the way, that I'm not responsible for other people's emotions. I can impact people's emotions, and I can take accountability and responsibility for when I've said something that might hurt someone. But I ultimately am not responsible to manage their emotions. Again, I have to manage my emotions and my actions. That's what I can and control. So hopefully it makes sense. Somebody asked, what app do you use to track food? I use the Lose It app. I love it. It's really simple. Some people use MyFitnessPal. I've done Lose It app. It has all of my meals already programmed in there. So it's easy for me just to track it. So it's very easy. How did you figure out your calorie deficit? I used a DEXA scan to learn my maintenance calories, and then I subtracted 250 calories from that because I'm doing half a pound of weight loss a week, and that's what's sustainable for me because I am 5'2", so and I'm really close to where I want to be weight-wise, and it's easier for me just to do half a pound as opposed to if I were to do the 500 calories. It's a very significant calorie intake. And it's not sustainable, believe me. So I just wanted to be more realistic on that. What is a DEXA scan? Somebody asked. A DEXA scan is a body composition scan, and it measures fat, muscle, and body density. And I do believe that it is so much better than the scale because it gives you a lot more information, and it helps you actually see where your progress is. I try not to focus so much on the body fat percentage part. I try to focus more on the lean muscle mass because I really want to increase that, especially because in January, I'm doing more body comp. But right now I'm doing just being on a deficit. Like I am strength training, but I haven't been pushing myself to heavy lift a lot because I do believe that when I'm doing that, I might need to be on maintenance calories more to make sure that I feel the harder workouts or the weight that I'm lifting. And I use the company called Body Spec, and I do have a link down below if you want to use it. Body Spec is in Texas. I think they have other locations as well in the US. And you just schedule. Usually it's around $50. They also have like memberships if you want to get them, quarterly or monthly. I honestly recommend if you're going to do it, get it quarterly because monthly you really can't see a lot of results, especially when it comes to muscle mass increase. Like I think a quarter every 3 months would be a lot more helpful in seeing progress and you won't get discouraged. How do you track food sustainably without obsessing? I feel like tracking only feels obsessive if you try to be perfect. For me, it's just data. I eat similar foods during the week, not like copy and paste meals, like I'm constantly eating the same thing, but a rotation I like. So yes, I'm eating the same thing, but it's on rotation. And most of my meals, like if my meals on the weekdays are the same, my weekends are a little bit more about my variety stuff. And I change it here and there with my snacks. That's where my variety comes. After, I don't like to eat meals more than twice, so I usually just eat them for like 2 lunches, 2 dinners. Like I'll eat that twice, but I can't eat it more than twice. I'm not going to be a broccoli, chicken, rice girl for the whole week. Like that's just not me. I repeat foods I enjoy. I have pasta Tuesdays, which I get to look forward to that. Like Monday is such a long, stressful day sometimes with work. And on Tuesdays, I get to enjoy my pasta meal. On Wednesdays, I get to enjoy my iced coffee. And then on the weekends, I get to enjoy my outing meal, whether that's going to a restaurant or fast food. That's what I do. And I really do easy meals. I do like a veg, a protein, and then like a 90-second rice package, which I know they might be a little bit higher in sodium, but I'm not listening to the food police here. I get what I get and what works for me in my life. So being flexible is super helpful, like frozen vegetables, pre-cut produce, like rotisserie chicken, like those kinds of things are easier for you to maintain than trying to be so perfect. People love to judge. People love to judge whole foods or processed foods. They don't live your life, your budget, or your culture. Okay? So if they're not you, they shouldn't be making, or also if they're not even your physician, your nutritionist, they shouldn't be making any comments related to your personal health and your choices, because they are your choices at the end of the day. I rather use a harm reduction approach than try to be perfect. And what harm reduction is like if you engage in something like, I don't know, like I wouldn't say that necessarily like eating a donut is harmful. It is not. But let's just say over time, if you're eating a donut every day, it could be harmful to your health, right? It could maybe increase your chances of diabetes. It might be increasing like just like overall health and fatigue maybe. Then I want to reduce that harm reduce. I'm not going to tell you don't have the donut, but I'm going to tell you now let's have the donut every other day. That is harm reduction. You know, we're not completely taking away the harm, right? But again, it's only harm if it's overdone, right? Anything good that's done obsessively and overly done, it can become a bad thing. So that's how I see it. Do you plan ahead for takeout? Sometimes I do. If I know that what we're ordering, I'll pick something that that I like, that it meets my calories. Sometimes it might meet more of the protein. Other times I treat it as a maintenance day and move on. I don't necessarily say I'm going to start over the next day, but no, I'm just going to continue the next day. My plan. Do you eat dessert while in a deficit? Heck yeah, I eat dessert on a deficit. I don't always crave dessert. I'm not like a big dessert person. I'm more of like a chips person, but I do love my Ninja Creamy. I feel like that has been the best thing for me because I love ice cream. So I believe that if you restrict the things that you love, that's when binging usually happens. And I think the better that you balance incorporating the things that you love, just plan for it, And if the thing that you love is just a high calorie snack, then find an alternative, right? That can still give you the similar enjoyment, but now it fits in your calories. You know what I mean? So that's what I think. My favorite workout brands are the ones that are affordable and the ones that make sense for a weight loss journey. And that is CRZ Yoga and Pavoi, two brands that are really affordable. And because if you're on a weight loss journey, they're not going to fit after a while. I don't want to spend so much money on like a Lululemon set, a Set Active set, or any other higher level activewear brand until I feel that I'm where I want to maintain, and therefore I'm going to get more bang for my buck with those investments. So that's how I see it. So I love those two brands. But I do love Lululemon and all those. They're a little bit more pricey. So for me, the other ones, like CRC Yoga, very stretchy, very good, very nice, very affordable. So those are all the questions that people ask, but these are questions that people might be afraid to ask. And I thought, like, what are things that I would be afraid to ask someone on the internet? And I thought, you know what? Let me ask these questions. So one of the questions that I think people would be afraid to ask is, what if I messed up week 1? Do I start over? I would say we do not restart. We recalibrate. One setback doesn't actually delete the whole 12-week year, especially if you think of you messed up the week. Messed up means, I think this 12-week year isn't about messing up. It's about getting the information so that you could readapt to the next week. So if you mess up, I think that's a win because now you know how to do better. You know what I mean? And if you didn't mess up a lot, then you have no data and you're like, okay, well, then what I do this week, can I replicate it every week? Because some weeks I'm not going to be able to replicate everything the same. Like period weeks, I'm not going to be able to replicate my 100% execution on some of the things because I know hormonal wise, just like appetite wise, things are a little bit different. And then like energy wise, things are a little bit different. So things like that. Yeah, so I don't think it's a mess up. I think it's a data recalibrate. Do you ever lose motivation? Yup, motivation fades. I don't rely on motivation because I know it fades a lot and that's normal. That's why I rely on systems. So like my ClickUp, my planner, my routines, my habits, they keep me consistent when motivation completely disappears because I'm not motivated sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this? Sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, or I could really quit right now and it'll be okay. And I can, but I also think it's the accountability part, the aspect part of like, I'm doing this for myself. Do I want to break a promise to myself? Can I not even trust myself? I need to be able to trust myself and that I stick to my word, but also I need to be taking care of myself. So I think it comes with a combination of being able to know when to stop and when to know that you do need to push yourself a little bit and keep yourself accountable. So yeah, I do lose motivation. What if my mental health gets in the way? Ooh, this is a big one because I do think that mental health can get in the way when it comes to goal setting or accomplishing goals. That's where I switch to the minimum effort mode, which is just like shorter workouts, simpler meals, lower pressure. So think about what minimum effort mode looks like for you for when it comes to accomplishing your goals. What are the steps that you can take on a minimum level that will still get you to where you want to be? It might not be maximum high efficiency level, but it might be still part that can help you, again, harm reduce in a sense. So mental health is part of the plan. It's not a distraction from it. I think mental health is very important. That's why when I said earlier how to balance a 12-week year, it is understanding how your mental health is. Like if your mental health is not well, then that's the focus on the 12-week year. Maybe it is understanding yourself better, reflecting better. Maybe it is just understanding why you want to have a weight loss goal. Like, what do you feel like that 5 pounds are going to give you, right? Like, what is that? I've had to ask that question for myself, right? Because then if I don't have a why or why am I doing this, and on the moments where I do question myself, like, why am I doing this? I can remind myself, why am I doing this? The commitment that I'm keeping myself, not only the outcome, but the commitment and the progress and the process of it all, and how it's keeping me consistent towards the holidays. It's creating an identity that I value, that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm someone that works out. I'm someone that sticks to words. I'm someone that is disciplined. I love that. I love to be able to share that and identify as that kind of person. So for me, if mental health gets in the way, it's part of, well, have we considered where our mental health is before we approach a goal that might not be matching with where our mental health is, you know? Do you skip the gym sometimes and feel guilty? I wouldn't say I don't skip. I wouldn't say I don't skip. I adjust. I say I'm going to go tomorrow. I'm going to change the workout that I'm going to doing, but I don't necessarily skip because, again, I'm in the process of identifying as someone who sticks to their habits. And sticking to my habits doesn't mean that I have to stick to the same amount of effort, time period that I do the workout or that I do said task. It just means that I adapt and that I'm consistent, that I stay doing it, even if it means minimal effort mode. What if I failed this 12-week year? I would love that. If you fail, you get feedback. Like, I think my first 12-week year, I failed because I didn't reach every single goal. I think I did 60% on most of the things that I put myself to do. And a lot of them were also not fully in my control. And that's something that I learned now when I'm adapting to my 12-week year, how much of what I'm aiming for is within my control. So I think 1 year I had reached a certain amount of subscribers, and I have no control over who decides to subscribe. I have control over influencing through researching the right topics, understanding my audience. Like, those are things that I do, but ultimately I cannot predict what my efforts are going to produce, but I can assume that it's going to produce possibly that, like when you put some effort to something, you will get something in return. It might not be fully what you think it's going to be, but it's going to be something, right? So anyway, those are all the questions that I got asked and questions that I think you might have been curious and might have not asked. I hope you guys enjoy this, and I hope you guys continue to watch the rest of the 12-week year. We are halfway through, and I'm really excited to continue. I hope you guys enjoy the holidays. And if you have goals that you want to do, or if you're doing the 12-week year, share your update. But if you're also planning on doing it in the new year, just share some goals that you're thinking about. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.